Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you ever wanted to turn your relationships into magic, then do we have the Relationship Magic Show for you. Today I'll be talking with Guy Finley, the incredible best-selling author of The Secret of Letting Go and at least 45 other books and audio programs, the founder and director of Life of Learning Foundation, and the author of an illuminating new look at relationships, Relationship Magic. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about how to heal your heart and love unconditionally. That, plus we'll talk about Mom and all the fish in the sea, Sleeping Beauty and Prince Charming, new cashiers and adventurous lines, gotcha, A Christmas Carol and Shawshank Redemption, how do those fit together, the real lesson behind Jerry Maguire, madrone trees and sunsets, and what in the world chocolate frosting and an electric blender has to do with anything. Gotcha. So welcome back to the show, Guy. Are you ready to shine?
Yeah, you've already made me smile. You touched on quite a few things in the book, so we can go whenever you're ready to.
Woohoo! All right. Well, before we dive right into things, who was Vernon Howard and how did you get interested in relationships?
A very long story short, I was born and raised in an incredibly successful show business family. My father is considered the pioneer of late night television talk show programming before names that most people that you and I would know now don't even know, but Time Magazine Man of the Year. And just, I was born into a world where my running mates were the children of the Hollywood Illuminati at the time. Lucy Arnaz, Desi Arnaz, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Liza Minnelli. We were a kind of a mini Rat Pack. But, and to the point, there was always in my heart something that not only couldn't be answered by all of the immense gifts that I was given as a boy, but that left a contradiction in my heart and mind that I could not resolve, primarily why it was with so much that so many of us had so much anger and fear. And this started for me at the age of 6 years old. I mean, literally. So that my life, even though it traveled a road that took me into the music business, had a very successful career at Motown Records, working with Neil Diamond at RCA. I mean, blah, blah, blah.
He lives in this town now.
So I've heard. But none of it did anything for me. And so at a certain point, I just retired from the music business, from my life, my history, traveled. I went to the East looking for someone to smack me with a peacock feather, dusted more shoes with my forehead than I can tell you, hoping for a Shaktipat that would pop me wide open and I would be at last at peace with myself. But while I had some adventures, to be sure, no such thing happened. And I came home not disillusioned, but more certain that if I was going to find what it was that was driving this dissatisfaction that I now call a divine dissatisfaction, I was going to have to find it sort of on my own. And that was when I met, quite by, in quotes, accident, Mr. Howard. Vernon Howard was an illumined Christian mystic, a philosopher king hidden from sight, as most true teachers are. And I spent 15 years working with him, eventually becoming good friends and co-director of his work. Only I ran the California area. And when he died, he had given me some instructions, and I have been working to fulfill them, beginning my own foundation, my own work as instructed, that became Life of Learning Foundation, and all that has come out of that work, beginning with The Secret of Letting Go, which he told me to write. That's the history. That's how I know of Mr. Howard. That's how I work with him, and my eternal gratitude for his guidance.
Thank you so much for sharing. So many directions we can go in that, but I want to touch on divine dissatisfaction, because there's so many people who come to me, so many people probably come to you who are experiencing divine dissatisfaction, and that can actually be a good thing, can't it?
Oh yeah. Fortunate, blessed are those who cannot find peace, happiness, and consistent consolation in this world. It's evidence, although most of us don't know it for the longest time, that we are called to be in a relationship with another order of being, that for the longest time we believe we will find a relationship outside of ourselves that will be the summation of that fulfillment, when the relationships we find outside of ourselves, as beautiful as they may be, are merely mirrors of what it is that we are intended to gradually grow into, which is a relationship with love itself. So, yes, divine dissatisfaction, unable to be purely at peace, even though I have a wife of nearly 40 years, Michael. I'm one of the luckiest men in the world. And over nearly 40 years, we've never raised our voice at each other, not one time. So I know how lucky I am. And she knows that she's lucky, but not because as individuals we are in each other's lives, but because as individuals we help the other one grow, discover, realize deeper and deeper aspects, not just of how our relationship is the instrument of something timeless, but through the instrument to be in touch with what is timeless and loving and unconditional.
I love it. So many directions again we're going to go. We're going to dive into the first part, outside of ourselves. There are a few key points in this book, and I said beforehand, I resonate very strongly with what you wrote and with this book. And the first is, when it comes to relationships and all of our, quote, problems in our relationships, we have to dive and turn the mirror inward, don't we?
Very much so. But you see, I think if there's anything that my new book serves, it's to bring these truly deep, necessary spiritual principles into a direct practice in our day-to-day relationships, not just with partners, but with everyone. In this instance, let's look at how we can understand better the idea that our partner is a mirror of us. So now, we were talking before we started the show. You and I were kind of grinning like Cheshire cats because we both have a certain blessing in our life that we live in the mountains.
Yeah.
You're in the Colorado. Yeah. I'm in Oregon. We both have a mountaintop home. Humble though mine may be, it is on a big piece of land where I look out right now and bringing in the madrones, like you said.
Yeah.
I see these beautiful madrone trees, these live oak, and they're changing colors. And there's a little breeze right now. So there's this color and there's movement and there's shape, and light is revealing all of this. Now, if I'm looking at you, I experience one set of qualities. If I look out the window, which I can't do while I'm talking to you, I'm suddenly brought into, and this is important, listeners, a world that isn't outside of me, but a world outside of me that is reflecting and revealing a quality of consciousness that is not present until the moment of the relationship. So point one, relationships are given to us through revelation. More clearly, revelation of every moment is a relationship. Revelations are are relationships. I see the beauty. I feel the beauty. I see the deer run across. I can feel their strength. Their, what do that natural power.
Mhm.
I don't feel that unless I see the deer or the horses run. In that moment, it isn't the deer and horses that are giving me the experience. They are awakening in me qualities, characteristics that I don't know live in me until that moment of harmony, balance, and power. Now, one more idea, because this is where the other shoe comes off. I am with my wife, early days, on the phone 3 hours, falling asleep, talking to each other. We all know how that goes. Can't be close enough physically. You want to become the other person. The smile that awakens that little bit of joy in you, the quirky little things. Hallelujah, brother. This is love. Give me more of it. And what is it that I want more of? What she awakens in me. She is a mirror in which I realize what I don't know about myself otherwise. Last point, because this is the big one. If that's true, Michael and listeners, then why wouldn't that same mirror be in operation when my partner stirs in me things that I don't want to see in myself? The same principle holds true, and it is the power of love that brings us together so that we can see these limitations in ourselves and release them so that we can be better united, more integrated with our partner and with love itself. Sorry for the long deal there, but I wanted to get the whole idea across.
That's okay. So when the student is ready, the relationship will appear.
Yes, and we could even make it a little deeper. The fact is, the student isn't always ready, but the teacher is always here.
So true. So since in a sense we're talking about opposites, and you have a lot in the book on yin and yang and things of this sort, male and female, the idea, I want just to blow this open a little bit more, that the one we love is the one who is going to reveal our wounds to help us to heal. It's not,
Yes.
though, and you can speak to this since you've never had your voice raised, it's not that the one we love that awakens something within, it's then Shangri-La, and that we're going to always feel good. Quite the contrary, perhaps.
Yes, very much so. And that's what we have to start understanding if we want to transcend the level of ourself, the limitations that we are unconscious of, so that in releasing what has been concealed, but that our partner has helped reveal, we can, as men and women, partners, begin to have a relationship based in the trust that what is unfolding in the moment between us, even though it may be momentarily bitter, is for the betterment of both of us, because we alone can be changed through the revelation of what we have, again, without knowing it, brought forward through time with us to this moment. I mean, look, it's not just that my heart was broken, that somebody disrespected me so thoroughly when I was in high school that I'm still living with the shame and humiliation of it. We as men and women have essence. We come into this existence with qualities and characteristics, by the way, which only we have in the measure we do. Just like there's no blade of grass that's the same as any other, not one of us is this unique convergence of energies that have manifested themselves through the forms they have. So this unique manifestation, which isn't perfect, we're developing creatures. We're here to be perfected and to discover that there's something working to perfect us. That's such an important idea, that these relationships begin the process of helping us understand. I grew up, for instance, I mean, people can look at me. I'm not a small guy. I grew up, 6'1", played, football, wrestled, and all that. I'm a bull. My essence is a bull. But bulls don't get along with china shops. They think it's the china shop fault. So the bull has to be tamed. What tames the bull? What tames the lion? What gives the mouse courage? Love through relationships. So now I've gone on a long time again.
No, it's really cool. I'm chuckling here because Jessica has tamed the bull in me, and she has done so because she has had to pull out her horns and be incredibly what's the Tibetan term for it, of a woman who is a love goddess and also is incredibly strong. Dakini, she's pulled out her Dakini power on me a time or two to tame this bull. You are now a gentle bull, so it speaks volumes to your relationship and perhaps some of the teaching that has gone on there as well.
Look, on one hand, and this is important, I can say, and I do, I owe it to my wife, to my partner, for remaining in place long enough for me to see that as I could not be what love was asking us to share. On the other hand, if I've discovered that, which by the grace of the divine I have, that means that something other than me and my wife held us together long enough for me to see, hey, Guy, this doesn't work, dude. You cannot remain who and what you've been if you want to become something that is capable of sustaining and growing in a relationship that deepens and refreshes itself. That's the magic.
Woohoo! So, I feel like saying objects in mirror are not as they appear to be. An attack, and I'll put that in quotes, shaming, guilting, whatever it is that starts an argument, is not what it appears to be. Something, as you're saying, something is working to perfect us, so that discomfort in front of us is actually there to serve us.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, we can have, and we do, obviously, we're having a very nice dialogue, and we can intellectually fully understand that when a person is in pain and they come to us and they blame us for their pain, which all of us do, in that moment, we don't realize our partner is in pain. All we know is our pain, which then we blame on them. So you have two people in pain, each looking at the other as the source of their suffering. When the fact of the matter is, and the only way in which this pattern of fighting can come to an end, is when we start to realize, every time my husband, my wife, my brother, my sister comes at me, it never dawns on me that they wouldn't be launching this attack, this verbal, passive-aggressive comment, that facial expression, whatever it is that sets us off, unless they were in pain before they did it. We don't know our partner is in pain, Michael. I don't, it sounds, I don't know how it sounds. All I know is that when we start to realize that love puts us in a place where we can realize my pain is not more important than my partner's. And not only is my pain not more important than my partner's, but if I can understand that it's not just my partner's pain, not just my pain, but our pain that something has brought together so that we can see each other as human beings who are acting from a limited understanding. who are not realizing this moment, instead of producing more negative patterns because pain is driving it, could release us from the misunderstanding we have of each other. Then in that moment, when we release the misunderstanding and bear consciously ourselves, our partner has the space they need to stop blaming us for their pain. I hope that was clear.
That was, and I want to dive into the how-to, the essence of this, because you said while the intellect gets this, and we can intellect it all day long, but then when they push our, quote, button, which is something maybe we'll talk about, which is really why is that there and what is it there to teach us, but when they push our, quote, button, is it repetition that will help us to snap back and go, wait, where is love in this situation? My partner is in pain. Or is there a pattern interrupt we can use to bring us back out of a place of non-awareness or of sleep, in a sense, so that we can wake up in that moment?
Yeah, good question, and certainly something that individuals like you and I and the people who are joining us have been asking for, 50,000 years. St. Paul said, why in the heck do I attack and instead of not attacking? Meaning, why do I do the evil I don't want to do instead of the good I know to do? So that's where this book, our conversation, even our work as men and women wanting to understand these ideas comes into play. We have to have, first and foremost, a new understanding to dress our divine dissatisfaction in. We know that we shouldn't hurt others unless we're a complete, and I use the word somewhat literally, but without judgment, believe it or not, unless we're a monster, we know we're not here to hurt others. And yet, almost every day, in some way, speeding in your car, saying that sort of semi-sarcastic remark to somebody, even a friend, putting them on the defensive because you want to be in charge. I mean, a billion examples of where it is that we don't act out the kindness that could we have been aware of ourselves the moment before, we never would have acted out. So the first answer to this is we need new knowledge. We actually need, and Christ called it metanoia, a new mind. A new mind that by definition, which is the word repent, means that we turn around in that moment. And instead of attending to what we would blame, we give our attention as best we can to the one that judges, to the one that wants to be special, to the one that wants to blame, which is a nature in us that we don't know is there until the button gets pushed. Let's take a simple example.
Sure.
Pretty easy to get defensive on the spot, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Somebody says something, and before you even know, your mouth is going to open. You're resisting. Almost instantaneous resistance. There cannot be an instantaneous resistance in that moment unless something we did not know traveled with us into that moment and was the button that got pushed. That means something very important and part of our new knowledge. My wife, my husband, did not create that button.
Yeah.
They pushed it. They didn't create it, they pushed it. Now, you can spend your whole life fixing people, controlling conditions, trying to make $1 gazillion so that you can live somewhere undisturbed throughout all of time. And you can be by yourself, and your own thought will find the button to push, will be disturbed by something.
True.
If we understand that, Michael, then maybe the first thing we need to do in the moment where we feel the resistance come up is act from what we know is true about ourselves instead of what something is telling us is true about our partner. Act from what we know is true about ourselves instead of something letting it tell us what's true about our partner. What do we know is true? I did not come into this moment knowing that I was going to go bonkers because you mentioned that I put on 3 pounds. I wasn't thinking about my weight. But then you said, have you put on a couple pounds? You said, why won't you ask for driving directions? We've been lost for 8 hours or whatever it may be. In that moment, and here's a little exercise, because you asked, how do we begin to put it into play? I call it stop, drop, and endure. Stop, drop, and endure. What's the stop part? You tell me first.
Stop going down this blaming or line of questioning to my partner.
Fighting doesn't work. Sweet God, how many times do we have to get in a fight with somebody before we realize nothing has ever changed? Before we understand and begin to practice what we say we know is true, love doesn't fight. Love doesn't separate. Love integrates and love heals. That's what love does. So if I'm getting ready to fight, then I can feel it come up, the bull, getting ready to fight. I have to put what I know is true in front of what something is telling me to do. So what do? I come to a complete stop, a complete interior stop. I'm not trying to be someone. I'm not trying to do something. My sole intention is to not let this essential angry bull, this defensive wild cat speak. It's not going to have my mouth. Buy some duct tape psychologically. Stop. Now, if we come to a stop, what do you think happens with this wild, undeveloped, incomplete nature when, because of what we now understand is true, we don't do what it wants to do? What do you think that part of us does?
Probably before it calms down, it goes crazy on the inside.
It goes nuts. And it starts talking. First, it was a whisper. We didn't hear the whisper. You can't let her say that. You can't let those people get away with that. What will the world become if everybody lives along the lines of, oh my God? And so it's a whisper. But then I come to a stop, and it turns from a whisper to a verbal sound to a shout. No, no. If you don't fix this, you will die. Something terrible will happen to you. And listen to this. Yeah. Now you get to hear fear talking to you. It's threatening you. Write this down, listeners. Love never threatens. Love never threatens. Love never shouts. So if something's threatening me, shouting in me, telling me, oh my God, you better move, you better do this, you can't let them get away with that. Now I know what I have to drop, don't I? Yeah. I have to drop every part of myself that wants to identify with those thoughts and those feelings, as familiar as they are. Here's another little insight, a little deeper. There's the only thing that's familiar about love is how deep and beautiful and quiet and joyous it is. Not how loud, boisterous, and demanding it is. So there's another tell. That's love, that's not. So now I leave it to you. I've come to a stop. I'm watching, I'm witnessing, observing as best I can this cacophony of conflicting voices and feelings. And now I have to do the last part, which is
endure.
Do you know the original beautiful meaning of the word patience, Michael? I know it's going to floor you.
Go for it.
To suffer myself.
Wow.
Tell me that isn't beautiful. See, patience isn't tolerating you. Yeah. Patience isn't agreeing to let you go through what you have to go through, and then I'll turn you around so you see things my way. Patience isn't what it takes to win a fight because you can outlast your partner. Patience is to suffer myself, to find out through enduring those voices and feelings, to find out that that was never me to begin with. That's what love does. St. Paul said, "In your patience possess ye your soul." We begin to put together all these beautiful Eastern and Western religious ideas in such a fashion that you start to realize there is this golden thread that runs through all of the true teachings. And all of it has to do with making room for love, for Christ consciousness, for the Buddhic nature, for all that is true, so that it can begin to perceive the moment for us. Mm-hmm. And we, through its eyes, begin to go through the transformation that these beatific natures have been inviting us to do all along.
I love it. So I'm going to take us on a huge 90-degree, get the 18-wheeler going sideways as we take this turn here. You shared a fascinating, I don't know if interpretation is even the right word. The movie Jerry Maguire. The 3 words, "you complete me," I've always looked at as, wait a second, something's wrong with that. But when you look big picture at the story that goes on here, something's all right with this, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not even sure that the man or woman, I don't remember who wrote this, understood what they were getting at. Ever so quick, in the movie, Jerry Maguire falls in love with Dorothy. It's a relationship of complete enabling at first. He needs her so he doesn't die in the business world. She needs him because she doesn't have a man to help raise her child. Quite stereotypical, but necessary to understand as qualities and characteristics. So here are these 2 people, and it's arrangement based on not love, but necessity. But through the miracle of whatever brought them together to begin with, he begins to see that he's got a character that would throw his mother under the bus if it meant that he could win something. She sees that she'll compromise herself till the cows come home if she can just complement her life with something that will release her from being alone. So you have 2 people coming into a relationship at seemingly completely different odds, drawn together, incidentally, by love, so that in the end, each one comes to this incredible realization that if you hadn't been in my life, I would have never known I had this limitation in myself. I would have taken the weakness, like with Maguire, to be a strength. I can manipulate people. I'm ambitious. I'm cunning. That's my strength. No, he sees it's his weakness. She says, I require comfort, consolation, a partner to keep things in place. That's only natural. No, that's fear, and I've compromised myself for it. And in the end, he says to her, which is the completion of it, you complete me. You have helped me see what I could not see about myself if it weren't for you being who and what you are. That's how love works. It's the third partner in any relationship. It brings us together so that we can polish each other. And through going through the pain of that, Michael, begin to realize, oh, goodness, there's actually a third partner involved in this. And our relationship is to introduce us to that partner whose perfection has been standing throughout time. And by the way, God willing, that you and I, as a man or a woman, can enter into, so that it doesn't matter what life gives or takes from us. We're always in the hands of something polishing us, showing us deeper levels of the perfection of our soul.
And when we let go and begin to understand that, how would I put it? We get to ride the bull without the bull riding us.
You couldn't have said it better. I don't know if everybody understood, but that is exactly it. The whole thing has been turned around. The whole thing. Where before, my identity was a derivative of what I thought you had to be and do to make me happy. Now I know that whatever you do or be is ultimately for my happiness, because it's getting rid of the junk that has been sitting in me without knowing it all along.
Thank you. That was a perfect clarifier. So, since we talked about pain, we may have to send people to the ICU. What is that?
Yeah, there's a section in the book where I talk about this important shift in the moment that we have with others. We all know ICU, intensive care unit. We've been in it. I've been in it. God Almighty, I've been so beat up physically, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And by the way, with no regrets. Some of the most important changes in my life have come from life in its grace showing me my arrogance and stupidity. But so ICU, we turn it into I see me. We hinted at this earlier. When we're in a moment of any conflict, some kind of argument with our partner, I see you, meaning you, my partner, as the problem. I don't see me at all. I mean, I don't see me. I don't hear me.
Yep.
All I feel is that you, that I see, are responsible for what I feel. And actually, I don't even feel what I'm feeling. I feel you need to be different. If I could see me, I'd realize this isn't good for me. This is hurting me. And by the way, you are seeing me hurt myself, and you don't want to feel that either. So here you have two people, neither of them seeing themselves as they are. Whereas if we could turn the arrow of attention around and I could see me when I'm seeing you, we wouldn't be opposites. We would be seeing ourselves together through the eyes of an intelligence that cannot, will not hurt itself or our partner.
How in that moment, this is going back to almost that initial question, do we get to see ourselves rather than to see that other person who's beat red in our face saying, I see you, but you don't see you?
No, and we mustn't say that to our partner either. This is no, I'm wiser, more developed than you are. Look at me being patient with you, and you're not patient.
You cannot win.
Yeah, that's not the deal. Look, love has been incredibly patient with humanity. If love hadn't been patient with me, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you. So we have to be patient with love. We have to understand this is not an overnight deal. I'm not going to suddenly, in quotes, get it, although I might have an epiphany, and God willing, I do. But the epiphany is just a crack in the door, letting some light into a world that's been in the dark. And in that marvelous moment, we get to see by that light just how dark things actually were that we thought were full of light. Again, I happen to like scripture. St. Paul was blinded, not by the light, but by what he couldn't believe he never saw before by that light. So they're really one thing. So how do we get to that point where we don't react with our partner? We have to actually understand. I know, let's just take an example, down to earth again. I've had something about my partner and it has bugged me to death for 10,000 years. And I have, every time my partner exhibits this particular manifestation, Hi, honey, I'm going shopping again. Why didn't you? Why don't you pick up after yourself? Or why did you not dry the dishes? I don't know what it would be, but we get it. We always try to fix our partner. Our partner is always trying to fix us. Why do I want to fix my partner? Because I love them? In part, maybe. But also in part because their faults are driving me nuts. Their fault, their weakness is a living prod, a constant button pusher. And I want to get rid of that part of them so I don't have to experience myself. But first, again, new wisdom. Have we ever changed our partner by trying to fix them? Not once. Not once. What we've managed to do is make them resist us all the more.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you as advocate for listeners, can I resist a moment and learn from it at the same time? Or is the resistance the separation itself from the lesson?
I think the resistance is the wall that's going to prevent you from seeing any lesson.
Exactly. So when I coerce my partner to change, try to fix them, all I do is awaken in them the certainty that they're not only not going to see what I'm talking about, but they're going to double down on it because they're going to blame me for the pain they feel for pointing out something in them that doesn't want to be seen. So we have this horrible cycle of conflict. Now, next, when you changed, Michael, and I know you've gone through interior changes, it wasn't because somebody tried to change you, but because by the grace of God, love, divine, whatever, one day you saw, you know what? I'm a bull. I'm impatient. I'm arrogant. I'm demanding. I am self-centered to the bone. Now, nobody showed me that in the moment, but life allowed a revelation. When I saw by the light within me, this unconscious part living in the dark of me, the concealed was revealed, and it was released by the same intelligence that brought it to my attention. If that's true that you and I change, when at last we see this can't go on, it's the same with our partner. We have to give them room to change, which, by the way, full circle, means we have to be patient with the part of us pushing them to change because it's pushing so it doesn't have to change.
I love it. On that note, what does another person's moccasins have to do with anything?
Yeah. We hinted at this. It should be abundantly evident to everybody how much pain the world is in. The world never says, you never see the TV hosts, the senators, the judges, the news people. You never see the protesters. You never see the warring factions. You never see them say, you know what, I'm really going to get after you to change because you're making me so aware of a pain in myself, I don't know what to do. There's no humility virtually left in humanity. And it's humility that we need. And when we understand that we can't create, God help us, God save us from humble people, if you know what I mean by that. You know, you know,
I'm the most humble person there is.
You know, but to the point, we have to understand the world isn't going to change. We know this. We give it lip service. We have to. How do we change? By seeing that everything in us that's trying to push others to fit some self-described mold is because something has coalesced and hardened in our heart that we don't know about. so that when I'm willing to come to a stop and drop and endure my own pain long enough, I will understand what your moccasins are, because there's only one pair of moccasins in the universe. One pair of shoes, not 100 million. We are in this together. Partnerships are a microcosm of the macrocosmic relationship that humanity represents. One lesson fits all if we're willing to meet the teacher that will show us what it means to walk a mile in our partner's moccasins.
How do we start seeing through our teacher's eyes?
We have to want to. I speak here in Southern Oregon, in Merlin, Oregon, 3 or 4 times a week to a group of men or women who, some who've moved here, some who travel to share in the atmosphere and take in the satsang, the conversation that we have. I'm working right now on a talk that directly answers, at least in part, what you've just asked me. Why is it that I'm only aware of the absence of love, the absence of kindness, the absence of being mindful, present to myself, so that I'm not being pushed and pulled? Why is it that that only happens maybe in the morning after I've quietly sat or I picked up a book? Why isn't that with me 24/7? Why can't I practice ceaseless prayer, whatever that would be to me? And the answer is because I'm full of it. And I don't mean ceaseless prayer. I'm full of the world and what the world wants. Now, at some point, we started our conversation here. It's full circle. At some point, I go, you know what? Getting ready to rush again. Getting ready to let that person have it. So they toe the line. And something, by the grace of God, goes, you know what, guy? Really? You're going to rush again? You're going to write that email with that tone? And in the moment of that, suddenly there is not only a divine dissatisfaction with who and what I've been, but there is a willingness to reckon with what has been wrecking me, what has been stealing from me, and it's accurate. The moment where I'm not just present to the madrone and the light and the colors and the movement, but I'm present to the part of me that is actually the basis of that, the real mirror of that life, so that it doesn't matter whether I'm talking to you, sitting in my chair quietly, just working on letting my mind contemplate what it does. Every moment then becomes the moment in which the teacher and the student are one thing, a reflection of one another, and each being fulfilled through the attention to the moment, to what the moment has brought. That's how it grows. That's what we have to do. We have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired with fighting, sick and tired of running after something that even after we get it doesn't free us, that we become the servant of. 1,000 billion examples, all of which point to the same thing. What we want in this life can only be found when we learn to turn around and find that what we're looking for has been given to us at birth. Then we can marry the whole thing into a singularity, a true integrated moment where the observer and the observed are no longer apart from one another. Partners are not apart, they're growing together.
You have just given even deeper meaning to what I consider one of life's greatest questions, questions that leads us in a direction. What would love do?
Yeah. That's it. Love would love. Love would accept. And by accept, I don't mean I'm someone who's accepting. By accept, I mean here is the moment, here is the revelation, here is the reflection, Here is the next revelation. Here is the reflection. And on it goes. Again, St. Paul, I die daily, moment to moment to moment. I am, for all intents and purposes, offered to be renewed, reborn, reconfigured, a new order of consciousness. And this is the best part of it, that is simply discovering itself. I mean, everything we will ever know, Michael, about love, everything we will ever taste, ever experience in it, is already in us. It's already there. So our job is to be a grateful person at this feast, this table that's prepared before us. And the table has on it some bitter stuff. But that's part of the feast, because it's laid out there for us to sample and to sense and eventually touch the source of ourself in every possible fashion, so that we realize all that we are, all that we will ever be given, is already with us, that love has made possible.
Woohoo! This has been truly phenomenal, Guy. What one homework assignment would you give people today to take action on?
I'd say the same thing that I live with in myself now, and I will when we are done with our conversation. It's a kind of a prayer. Mm-hmm. Please let me slow down enough to see there's nowhere to go. That it's being given to me. I can't add a single cubit to my own stature. But something in me that's dissatisfied with what it's imagined will make me whole, runs me like a donkey with a carrot on a stick in front of it. I don't want to run. I want to be. But in order to be, I have to catch the runner. If I'm aware of the runner, I'm being. If I'm aware of what isn't loving, love is showing it to me. It is this beautiful seeming dichotomy that is secretly, as I said, a singularity, waiting to bring us into its love, its awareness, its intelligence, and yes, its immortality.
To summarize that succinctly, we get to rope the runner.
Yeah, rope the runner. Yeah. Yahoo.
Yeehaw. On that note, Jessica always wants me to ask, particularly with baby on the way now, what advice would you give parents to help their kids with love?
Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Teach your children well. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Let me be the example, yes, every moment of what I hope they will understand before they have to go through some of that. They will have to go through it. There's no escaping the path. But if I can be the example, so they can see, you know what? Maybe the baby, see, we don't get it. Here's this little tiny creature coming into this world. And let's say I suddenly, if you've been a parent, you don't know what's coming. You're everything, and you feel impatience, and you may not even want to be with the baby. And by the way, we mustn't feel guilty about stuff like that. That's the bull. And you can even say, look, I don't want to be impatient. I love you. That child understands that if you give them love at the same time that you are feeling what feels like not love at all, you've given them a completely different order of love that is embracing the opposites. Every step along the way, Michael, can I be not just what talks about love, but the man or woman willing to live what it shows me about myself so that I can better instrument it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. On that note, where can people go to find your magnificent book, Relationship Magic, and find out more?
Thank you for that. Look, it was just released. And if you go to relationshipmagicbook.com, relationshipmagicbook.com, right there on that page, you can be sent to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And the reason that we're doing that is because through that link, you are going to receive from my foundation a free, instantaneous download of the audiobook. It's the first book I've ever read of my own out of all of them, because I wanted the intonation to be there. So you get the audiobook, you get a free MP3, a 60-minute MP3 on Higher Love, and most significantly, entrance to a webinar that I'm doing on the 28th of October and November 1st, streamed live from my foundation. It's archived in case someone sees this after that. You get the free book, audiobook, you get the MP3 download, and the free webinar at relationshipmagicbook.com. One word, relationshipmagicbook.com. That's what to do. And if you're not interested or you can't afford the book, go to guyfinley.org, GUYFINLEY.org, and there are free resources there. You can spend years going through it. But I would really recommend, God forgive me, Relationship Magic, Waking Up Together. Original subtitle before it was changed, Michael, The Endless Journey of Love.
I actually wondered about that, because I looked at the subtitle and between you and me, it didn't quite fit. There was something grander that was meant to be there.
Publisher outweighed author.
I understand this one, Guy.
Yeah, The Endless Journey of Love, which we take and must through and only with relationships.
Woohoo! So, to summarize that, if you didn't catch relationshipmagicbook.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com and we'll get you over to relationshipmagicbook.com or guyfinley.org. I've got to ask, because I've been there myself, was it fun reading the book into the microphone and making the audiobook?
You know, I really did like it. I really did. For one thing, just between you and me and all the people that are joining us, there were places where I realized as I was reading it, God, that could have been a lot sharper there. You know, just a little slightly shorter sentence. This is a confession, but I don't care. I really don't. The book stands on its own. It isn't that it's tough to read. It's not. It's an easy read. But I learned a lot about the book reading it out loud. It'll make me a better writer.
So I have a dear friend and mentor who once told me, edits are never completed, they are abandoned.
Yeah. That's someone who knows something about writing.
Yes. So before we dive into maybe a really, really brief meditation, and this has been phenomenal, we could just keep going and keep going. Any last words of wisdom you want to share today, Guy?
It sounds so simple, but love is the answer. It sounds so simple, but now we must take the simplicity, even the right feeling we have about it, and make it the answer when nothing in us wants it to be the answer. In that conscious struggle, there is at first a witness to a separation that must occur. And in the paradox of all paradox, it is in that separation from who we really are, from who we have mistaken ourselves to be, that a healing takes place. One is released, the other is realized, and it's one and the same movement.
Woohoo! I can't thank you enough, Guy. This is one of those interviews where I sit back, kind of slump back in my chair, and I go, wow, wow. And then I stop slumping. And I'm like, wow, wow. And then I lean in and I go, wow, wow.
I don't know. But you know what? That's because love of truth enables these extraordinary mirror moments where everything's confirmed, not created, expressed. And that's joy. And here it is, and then it'll go, but it doesn't have to go if we come back and start over again. High and low, waxing and waning. I was just writing I'm a bit of a poet. I like to write poetry. By the way, please ask Barbara to send you Apprentice of the Heart. Ooh. It's a book of mine, my least popular book, and apart from Magic, the Relation, one of my favorite books of all time that I ever wrote. You will appreciate it. It's kind of Rumi-esque, not to most people's taste, but Apprentice of the Heart. I would love to make a gift of it to you, just out of this relationship.
I'd love and be honored to check it out.
I'd love to have that.
So then, would you mind sharing a very brief meditation, anything of your calling, with us?
The more mindful we can be, the more we will understand and realize the fullness of our heart that has always been present, if we'll be present to it. That's it.
Perfect. I'm out of words, Guy. Completely out of words. I cannot thank you enough. So at the end, for everybody to listen, just between you and me and all of our listeners, at the end, Jessica, as soon as I get off the line here, Jessica will want to recap. And oftentimes, there are just one or two snippets that are really, really special that I want to share with her. I've got a whole book report to do on this one now.
That's how it should be. Our heart is intended to overflow. But we mustn't mistake the idea of joy as the only kind of overflowing. We must understand that we can overflow in our heart with a longing to know more about what is flowing, and the realization that it wouldn't be flowing, as it were, if it hadn't been released of some mistaken ideas of things that we've taken and embraced unknowingly, that now it's time to let go of, so that this flow can be increased. That's our work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. This was great. Just great.
Couldn't agree more. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get relationship magic, and begin letting love be your answer today, and shine bright. Woohoo! Love it, Guy. Love it, love it, love it. Love you.
Thank you, man. We are brothers, like we said. We are brothers. Brothers from another mother.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!